In every CARWOW review, Matt calls this thing his specialist timing gear. But what actually is this? What can it do? And should you go and buy one? Well, I want to answer all of those questions in this video, starting with what this actually is. This is a RaceBox, a 10 Hz GPS receiver that will set you back around £280 if you wanted to pick one up yourself. If you're not familiar with why 10 Hz would be useful in a product like this, then do check out my GPS Explained video over on my tech channel, TechTeamGB, where I explain all of that and a bit about why 10 Hz, well, is pretty handy to have. The TLDR, I suppose TLDW, is that 10 Hz offers 10 times the number of updates as something like your phone would get in the same period of time, 1 second. It's also often more accurate, so you can get more accurate results for tracking things like your 0 to 60 times or your track or lines around a racetrack. Now, the RaceBox isn't the only reasonably accessible 10 Hz GPS receiver you can go and buy. The arguably more popular option is the Draggy, which is just a little sort of stick, a little dongle that you can mount in your car and does a lot of the same things as this, but you use an app to read all of the data, whereas this RaceBox, you can use the app, and I'll talk about that in a second, but you also have a screen on the device, which is likely why CARWOW use this, because you can stick a GoPro in front of this thing and see all of your numbers climb. Mounting this is also pretty easy and is really useful to be able to go from car to car. Again, likely why Matt uses this one. And that is just by the suction cup that comes included in the kit. You stick it to your windshield and you can use it fully wirelessly, just like this. Or if you need to charge it, perhaps while you're using it, you can use the included magnetic charging cable, which is pretty sweet. And what's even better is that if you want to mount this, say, hard mount it in your race car, like in your dashboard, so that you can see those numbers climbing and, track your lap times, that sort of thing, well, the GPS antenna that's on the top of it isn't going to have good signal to the satellites in the sky. But they thought of that too, and that's why they include an external screw-in GPS antenna that you can screw into the connector on the back and mount on your windshield or even outside the car if you wanted to get better reception. The RaceBox has two main functions: lap timing and drag timing, where the latter is the one that we see Matt use pretty much exclusively. In that mode, you have three main options you can choose from, either to record speed, distance, or a custom setup of whatever you fancy. In the speed mode, it will show you 4 different results from 0 to 30, 0 to 60, 60 to 130, and 0 to 130. That's in miles an hour. You can switch it over to metric units and it will change those measurements as well. Or you can set it to distance mode, where it will report how long it takes to travel 60 feet, a 1/16 of a mile, 1/8 of a mile, and quarter mile. Again, if you switch it over to metric, it will show you that in kilometers and meters. Or you can use a custom mode, which is what I personally use the most, and I believe is what Matt uses as well, where you can set any combination of speed or distance measurements, and you can have it report in whatever units you fancy. In my case, I have it set to miles an hour, as you also get a speedo up at the top, which can be useful for while you're just driving around. But the limitation is that you can only see 4 results at a time. So if you want to do your 0 to 60, 0 to 70, 0 to 130, and a quarter mile, and a couple of braking runs, that's just not possible. This thing is insanely accurate. It reports down to just 1/100th of a second, or 2 decimal places, for the drag timing runs. And in terms of its location accuracy, the RaceBox team says that on a clear day in ideal conditions, it can be as accurate as just 20 centimeters off, or around 8 inches. And even on a less than ideal day with less than ideal visibility to the sky, you should still get well under a meter of accuracy, which is still pretty impressive. All of that means that your drag timing runs that it's capturing are remarkably accurate. The other feature, the track and lap timer, is clearly less important to Matt, as we hardly if all see it in their videos, but it's a really cool feature, so let me give you a run through. You'll want to connect to their app to upload up to 64 different tracks onto the device, and you can browse from their list of up to 2,000 different tracks and variations. They have a pretty extensive list of the American and British tracks, and there are a good selection around the world as well, including even the Nürburgring. But even if you can't find the track that you want to race around, or maybe you're doing a rally stage that you want to track with this as well, you can use their app or the device itself to create a custom track. They support both open and closed circuits. So closed circuits are a standard circuit where you can do multiple laps, whereas open is a separate start and finish points. And you can add up to, either on a closed circuit, 3 different sectors or split points, and on a open circuit, it lets you set up to 2, so 5 total points. Since we're talking about the app, and Matt doesn't generally show it in his videos, I thought I'd give you a quick tour. You have 4 main pages: the drag timings, lap timings, device settings, and more. Where the device settings is where you can manage and upload your tracks. You can also use the more settings to manage your garage, which is quite useful because you can set what vehicles you generally are doing these runs in. For example, my Audi S4, but I do have a few runs saved from the VW Golf R, which, if you haven't checked that review out, go check out in the cards above. So you can pick what vehicle, and you can also set a default vehicle for the device as well. On the drag settings page, you will see all of the sessions that you run with your device. Those will all automatically sync when you connect to the Wi-Fi hotspot the box creates and open the app, and then you can see the full list of all of those sessions, including both some highlight reel figures and the runs that you did within each of those sessions. You can tap on any of them to open up a more detailed page where you can see all 4 of the metrics that you were recording at that time, and you can also step through each of the runs individually rather than looking at the overview page, which is the best of all, and so you can see each of those. You can assign what vehicle you did those runs or that session in the settings menu at the top right hand corner, and down at the bottom it even tells you what the GPS accuracy was during those runs. If you click on any of the metrics themselves, you'll be able to see a couple of extra details, as well as a full graph of, in this case, your speed and your G-forces. On top of that, you can click on the compare button, where you can compare not only runs in that session, but even runs from other sessions, so that you can see, say, how you did for one setup change versus another, or even just comparing one car to another, like my Audi S4 to the Golf R. For the track sessions, much like the drag ones, it will show you a list of all of the sessions you have done, and also list each of the laps that you did in those sessions. I should make it clear though that any open-ended circuit, it will only record a single lap per session. You need to exit and start again to have it re-record, whereas with closed circuits, it will just keep triggering a new lap every time you cross the start-finish line. In my case, I have this run here where I have a single lap, and you can click on that and see a few more details. You can then click on the lap itself and see a not only map of where you were any given time, but also a chart of how your essentially acceleration, cornering G, and your speed. I should also add that the map that's up the top there, there's no actual map being shown behind it. It's just my line there. I believe that is because I'm using a custom map rather than one of their preloaded ones, but I haven't been able to test that, so I can't verify that that's 100% true. Interestingly, if you use their app, you can also export all of your runs through their website. When you log into the app, it automatically uploads any of your runs to their website, and then if you log into the website, you'll be able to export them and save that file and see a full table of the date and time, your latitude and longitude, and you'll be able to then, say, take that track run or that drag run and see how you were doing at any given point. It's probably important to note that they do say they would never share that data with anyone, nor will they even access it without your explicit permission, mostly for, customer service and support. But I should also add that, as far as I can tell, it seems more like it's a policy that they wouldn't share or access your data, rather than a technical limitation of them being physically unable to access it, like, say, end-to-end encryption. So, should you all be rushing to the link in the description to pick one of these up yourself? Well, the thing is, if you're a track team or even just someone who visits the track regularly, whether that's drag or circuits, it's definitely a cool gadget to have and offers a lot of data and relative accuracy that you might not otherwise have access to. It's a really useful tool and offers a great amount of information and data. It is a bit of a shame that, especially on the drag timing side of things, you can only record 4 metrics at a time. It would be nice to have it, say, be able to record, a couple pages worth of stuff or background, whatever. But it's a really useful tool, and in the grand scheme of things, when it comes to, racing and race cars or whatever, £280 really isn't all that much. If you're more of an enthusiast who tends to not go to the track all that often, and you just want it for, out on your Sunday drive, then you certainly can. It's your money. I definitely wouldn't stop you, but it's definitely a more advanced tool that has some more limited use cases. It's not the sort of thing that I would generally use on the roads unless I'm specifically testing something like 0 to 60 or 60 to 0. And for me, this is great. It's fantastic to be able to stick it on the windshield and point a camera at it, just like CARWOW does, and get some really useful and accurate data. But for the average person, I think if you wanted the sorts of features that this offers, I would probably point you towards the Draggy instead, if anything at all. With that said, those are my thoughts, but I would love to hear yours in the comments down below. What do you think of the RaceBox? Is it something you would pick up yourself, or would you prefer to go with the significantly cheaper Draggy instead, albeit without a nice display? Also, what do you think of it in relation to CARWOW's videos? Would you like to see him do, say, some track timing with it and see those results? I think I would, so feel free to let me know in the comments down below. If you want to see more videos like this one on a weekly basis, both from, tech reviewer, or I suppose car tech reviews, but also actual car reviews, guides, how-tos, and a whole load of other stuff, do check out that subscribe button and turn on the bell notification icon. There's also a whole load of other videos that you can check out on the end cards if you want to keep watching, including the RaceBox in use with my Audi S4, or even from the Golf R review, so go check those out. Otherwise, thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you on the next video.